And he just notified me that we are live.
Okay, well, hopefully Commissioner Rogers will join us again soon. This is the afternoon session of the July 14th Washington County Board of Commissioners Roundtable. So the two remaining items on our agenda, first syncing up on several different updates, moving forward discussion and rolling agenda review, and then AOC coverage. So I'll give a brief overview. Ordinarily, we simply have the forward-looking rolling agendas in our packets. And, you know, if you've got questions, sync up with me or Ms. Angie and going from there. Well, this right now is a little bit different for the following reasons. One is we're looking forward to returning to hybrid. Moving from, sorry, my phone's ringing for some reason, moving from virtual only to hybrid meetings and continuing to increase Board of Commissioner time in PSB in the offices. But in addition to that, we have a very unusual summer this year. As you know, in the month of June, 2 of the 4 weeks of board meetings, only 2 had the full complement of commissioners. Well, guess what's happening in July? Just 2. And in August, we have just 1. So Ms. Angie and I, and of course her staff, have spent a whole lot of time making adjustments and pivoting to not only the realities of commissioner time and commissioner presence, and trying to take advantage of having all of us available for the really big things, as well as staff time, because this is the first summer of the last 3 or 3 most recent, where people, we are encouraging to go on vacation and not isolate, not keep your footprint small, right? Let's keep practicing living with COVID. So some of our topics have adjusted because of staff availability, let alone some external events like why we have different executive sessions come up on different legal matters. So that's one reason why I would like us to take the opportunity to look at, as you see under this section, the roundtable plan, as well as the rolling agendas over the months of July, August, September, and I believe into October. And just to be a little bit more mindful as a work group about the big things we have in front of us and what it means. I'll speak just for myself. I am planning on, when I am on vacation, August 2nd, I won't be physically in the state of Oregon, but we have some big items moving forward where I'm currently planning on attending our meetings by Zoom. Whereas on August 9th, I will continue to be out and I may not be participating in that one. So that's just some of, from my standpoint, as one of 5 where I'm coming from. So I just thought we would do something we haven't done before and just walk through each of these months just to take stock. It's not unlike the sync up that we just had under board initiatives, where Commissioner Willie was inquiring about the state of affairs on the external preschool for all group and where they stood. And I think by virtue of that conversation, we were able to re-summarize where things are at so that we're all at a same baseline with regard to the state of affairs. So the other thing that is influencing my thinking for doing this is we've talked about how there's a lot on our plate. This is a chance for us to internalize. I, for one, have also acknowledged that for land use and transportation, the middle housing work and the SNR work had our staff really maxed out on different LUT work plan items. We hit that milestone, that state mandate, right, by the end of June. But guess what? There are other ones. So I started my own personal Board of Commissioner, Catherine, understanding of state mandates, right? They keep coming at us. Climate adaptation, our staff's bringing that forward in the rolling agenda. The psilocybin stuff has come up on our radar. There's a whole bunch going on with state legislative unfunded mandates that affect our public safety system that I've been noting. Sheriff Garrett highlighted one in a briefing to us about jail capacity that's related to Oregon's pretrial release system. We also have other stuff going on with juvenile detention beds. We also have, the limited number of courtrooms and judges that we have. We know there's the evidence management. And there's a whole lot related to HHS as well that we'll talk about with the AOC coverage. So long and short of it, this is an opportunity for us to just take stock. If you haven't already had the opportunity to look at each of those monthly rolling agendas, why not do it now? Does that sound useful? Welcome, Commissioner Rogers. Okay, so we each have the rolling agenda. For my own sake, here we are at the middle of July. So we just have the July 26th work session and evening meeting coming up on that. And this is where we'll have, Mr. Carr, if I'm right, will we have the first reading of the ordinance on the psilocybin delay? Or is that really the second reading?
No, that's on the 19th, you mean? That's the first reading.
Oh,
And then
sorry.
The second reading is
Yes.
on the 26th, and then we
Yes.
have either engrossment or passage on the first meeting in August.
Yes, thank you. Having the July 14th column did confuse me yet again. So yeah, you're right. Thank you. So July 19th, I know we've got, just like we had this past week, we have a really full topic diverse agenda, right? That's related to, we have a lot going on and we only have so many meetings to sync up on big things. So we've got ARPA stuff, 2 different things coming, and the encampment management plan And I know each of those have involved discussions from the board. So, and we continue to have various commissioners on vacation different weeks, and also staff. Thank you, staff, for taking care of yourselves. Do any of you have any comments or questions on anything in July? Remember, this is just an open question. Nope. Okie dokie. Then we're into August. Commissioner Willie, when I'm away, you'll be running those meetings, but just like last November, where I zoomed in off-site with you here in Oregon, I think it's best with you as vice chair to run the August 2nd meeting, even though I do plan to be in attendance. So thank you in advance for that. Once again, there are some big things here. And some exciting ones too. Later in the month, we'll have that review of the procedures on misstep, and then some things related to the Center for Addictions Treatment and Triage, and different commissioners out for different vacations and business related events. Oh yeah, another reason why I wanted to make sure I attended August 2nd was to make sure I do my part on the psilocybin item. Has anybody got it? Do you have any questions or comments on August? All righty. It's very rare we have to do it, really take stock. September, we just keep going with a lot of stuff. September 6th, we always have that first meeting sort of realization after Labor Day of, oh boy, school year starts, summer's quote unquote over, and we only have 4 months to the end of the year. How did that happen so fast? So as we talked about in the board initiatives, the workforce and succession planning updates and policy review, another check-in on the reapportionment. This is where we're expecting to have the community feedback. Then we get into ARPA phase 2 finalization. Commissioner Treese and I will each be missing that September 13th meeting. So for example, that ARPA phase 2 finalization will have to catch up with a board briefing from staff. And then further things September 20th and 27th. And as you know, our roundtable is September 21st. And yes, I caught up with September 28th is the Q3 Board of Commissioners Town Hall. That's the one that will relate to circling back to the community about the budget, getting to adopted budget, and how we heard their feedback, how we have incorporated that into our adopted budget, and if not, into our thinking as we move forward and future planning efforts.
Here, could I ask a question?
Of course.
Go back a month.
Yes.
There's a town hall on August 25th. It's on the calendar. Am I?
See
Are
that?
we all? I'm looking actually on our on our website, and I don't
Oh.
remember if,
So
if
that's
that's if that is a mistake that it's there. It's August 25th, Board of County Commissioners Town Hall.
I'll have to let Ms. Angie answer that one.
That's an error. We'll look into that.
Okay, I'm going to be gone that week, and I didn't think there was. I had checked, so I was like, oh. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. This is one reason why we sync up on this stuff. We all help one another. Many hands makes lighter work. Great. Thank you. And I don't know about you, but I'm just not ready to face the month of October, but there it is staring me in the face. And one reason why we need to make sure that we've got October on our radar screen is that there will be some continued legislative days with the state legislature closing out their 2021 business with the current legislature and having the wheels in motion for the long session in 2023. So you can see different items there. We have the annual joint meeting with the Fair Board. Then we'll be closing on reapportionment and also working towards closure, not in October, but moving forward with further information on MISTIP later in the month. Oh, and we'll have the county financial update in October as well. And Commissioner Willie will be holding down the fort, so to speak, with CWS and WEFTEC in New Orleans. Any questions or comments? I know I highlighted the roundtable plan earlier, but you can see that we have the September 1st roundtable, the October 6th roundtable, and then the one in early November and then early December as we start to set things up for 2023. Any spare time in there where we should be adding other things or? Thoughts? Well, I'm hopeful that Ms. Angie and I have had to spend less time on rolling agenda planning because she and her staff really do follow up marvelously on different details. And what I'm as the chair, one of the unspoken responsibilities of the chair is to make sure that staff is getting highest and best use of your limited time. So that's been the goal. And I think we've been doing pretty well the last few years. And we've certainly demonstrated our nimbleness and flexibility through our operations over the last few years. So thank you very much. And if you think of anything after this conversation, don't hesitate to let us know. Any other thoughts or needs? Remember too, from the board initiatives, that there are 2 annual performance reviews that we need to get done before the end of the year. And that is for Ms. Angie and Mr. Carr. So we'll have 2 executive sessions before our last meeting of the year of December 13th. And that also means that a couple of commissioners are going to be on the hook for working with our wonderful HR team to get the surveys finalized, delivered, bird dogged through the board, reviewed, make sure that we've got the self-reflections and get the compensation stuff taken care of, so on and so forth. So I, for one, will say, I'm really looking forward to our doing this work face to face again. I forget to breathe when I'm in these meetings. I'm so focused on trying to watch all the windows and forget to just look around. And I have found personally that starting to practice being face to face with people, it's really energizing. So getting a little tired of all the Hollywood Square meetings. I'm looking forward to our being in the work session room together and being in the auditorium. I find it very energizing. Okay. Well, if there are no other thoughts on that, we get to move on. Okay, let's do it. Back over to AOC. So I closed my packet, so I need to bring it back up. Okay, so you have in your packet a summary of the different committees that exist with the Association of Oregon Counties. Through the leadership of AOC President George Murdoch and the executive team, as well as feedback from the membership, the president, Commissioner Murdoch, initiated a strategic evaluation. And this was also in line with transitioning from only virtual meetings to hybrid meetings. And the steering committees have only been meeting virtually and are expected, at least some of them, to move to hybrid. They're still sorting that out a little bit because one of the improvements that was made this year was to change the dates of the different steering committees, because there are, in some counties, and actually in a majority of the counties, they're not home rule counties, so there are only 3 commissioners. And many of them do not have government relations staff like the larger counties do. So the commissioners and AOC are government relations for them, which means that amongst their 3 commissioners, they needed to cover all these different steering committees. So it was problematic for some of the counties. So one of the improvements was to spread the steering committee meetings over different days. There are also some shifts going on where, for example, economic development had been part of natural resources. Economic development is moving to the Transportation and Community Development Steering Committee. So it's one reason why I thought I would just put together the summary state of affairs, all taking information right off the AOC website, but putting it into a, I was hoping for a 1-pager and it turned out to be 3 for you. So I've given you the sources of the information, and I just wanted to run through the different committees. And I'm hoping there are at least 2 that I want to make sure we sync up on. So is everybody with me as to why we're talking about this? Okay. So the first one in the list, and I tried to work just off the list from the AOC website, Governance and Revenue Steering Committee. We haven't had a board member, as far as I know, actively participating. We have great government relations. They'll keep being involved. But one reason why I'm recommending that we consider having one is that this committee has already started conversations about the state of affairs with Oregon tax policy and the effects on counties. We're not the only county that has been experiencing increasing, the rate of expense growth increasing faster than the rate of revenue growth, for example, from property taxes. I just wanted to highlight our presence, our lack of presence is somewhat felt on that committee. So I'll just keep running through the opportunities. Health and Human Services. So Health and Human Services, Commissioner Fye has generally been participating. And I just wanted to confirm, Commissioner Fye, that whether or not you plan to continue to cover that. This is a committee that meets on Thursdays. Sorry, I can't remember when governance and revenue meet. I think that's also on Thursdays. The Natural Resources Steering Committee. This is one that deals with all kinds of topics that don't hit our radar screen to the same extent. So at this juncture, I'm not seeing a specific need for us to change from our current practice. So that's just my thought there. On public safety, this is one that for the last couple of years I've been participating, and I plan to continue to participate there. Transportation and Community Development, I did a quick highlight earlier about economic development coming in. This is one where we don't usually have, our presence isn't that missed. They spend time on state legislative packages because if the state doesn't give them money for maintenance or capital construction, then it hurts their economic development futures as well as road conditions, whereas we have misstep, a larger share of gas tax and so forth. This is one where to date we haven't had participation, but I was wondering, Commissioner Willie, if you would be interested in this one and or that governance and revenue. And I'll just keep going over the overview of the set, and we'll come back to any discussion. Veterans Steering Committee, this is one where once again, we haven't had a board representative. This is one where I miss Ken Hubbardston as a Clackamas County Commissioner, because he did a really nice job in participating here on the Veterans Steering Committee, given they've got a training site and so forth. But I am not aware of any major initiative that is coming new that where we don't already have sufficient coverage from our GR team. And then Legislative Steering Committee and Board of Directors as chair. These are the other two committees that I serve as your representative, and you're used to my sharing information in report outs, but also by email. And I plan to stay connected with those. But that's one reason why I'm not signing up or volunteering to take on more of the other steering committees for potential need. Then I also included in the packet the full set of legislative committee membership. And then also, in case you had questions, the bylaws, when I needed to put the packet material together for the roundtable, AOC's website didn't have the constitution and bylaws. So I brought that to their attention. So they were going to correct that, but I wasn't sure if that would be corrected in time for you to review the packet. So that's why I included that. It's a matter of convenience. I'm not highlighting anything. Okay, so back to it. Thoughts? I know I asked Commissioner Fye to confirm something, and then I'm hoping we'll just discuss in person. Go ahead, Commissioner Willie.
Did you want to wait to see if Nafisa was going to respond?
Yeah, thumbs up for me. I plan to
Okay.
continue.
So, Catherine, where are these meetings typically held in person? Are they in Salem? Or are they all over the board here?
Well, that's the great unknown. They have, when we used to meet just in person, we met in Salem, okay? And with COVID, they've been virtual only. I don't know what's going to happen for the subsequent months, and here's why. As you know, well, as you may recall, AOC has sold its interest in the local government building and purchased the building across the street. But with the supply chain problems, they don't have all the furniture and whatnot yet. So they'll be having a grand opening in February, right? 8 months away. So I know at a minimum, they're planning to stick to virtual for the remainder of the year.
But typically, barring the occupancy spot, they would be in Salem, and that's all of these steering committees would be in Salem. Is that correct?
Yeah, if we go
Okay.
back to prior practices, yes, they were all held in the local government building, which is one reason why they were all held on Mondays, right? So that commissioners from further distance could maximize their time. So now that they're spread over different days, that's where I think hybrid is going to be exist, so that commissioners have the choice. But you may also recall that they don't use Zoom, they use Google Meets, which when you're talking about a group of people more than a handful is not quite as smooth. So, it's a little bit of an unknown space. So now, I reminded myself though, I forgot this point. Back when they met in person, they did have hybrid, but it was phone only. Oh, right. Because there were some steering committees where I had to participate by phone versus in person. So I stand corrected. Yes, they'll continue virtual through the end of the year, but hybrid is the plan once they open the new building. And I just, other than February, it's wait and see on all that equipment.
And it looks like the first one meets on Fridays. I don't know what time Fridays, but Fridays, and that's a pretty good day for me. So that might be a possibility. Just a second, I'm trying to go back. And the reason why I guess I asked that, I am not a fan. I think we need hybrid meetings, but I'm not planning on attending in a hybrid fashion. I like to be in place. The difficulty of Salem meetings and everything else is my forestry meetings, my COPAC, my Northwest Act. All of those are traveling meetings. Some in Salem, some further south, and then of course Tillamook and Astoria for the rest of them. So I'm trying not to load up my calendar with a lot of travel, but the Governance and Revenue Steering Committee is interesting to me. I was looking at that one. And then just for your information, Catherine, I will be attending at NACO. I will be attending the public safety meeting. We have, of all of us that are going, we have spread out to make sure that we are covering all of the steering committees down there. And so we'll be reporting back on those. And then the Transportation, Community Development, and Economic Development one also is interesting to me, but I'll have to look to see where that meets and when that meets before I'm going to be able to commit to that. So I'm pulling that up now. So let me do some homework and reach out.
And you also reminded me that I neglected to mention something else, and that is, as I reported out at the our Board of Commissioners meeting in June, I think it was on June 21st after the AOC Ledge Committee meeting, they told us that not only be prepared for the normal monthly steering committee meetings, but there will, in all likelihood, the co-chairs will need to call some special meetings, certainly between now and the end of the year, but also throughout the legislative session, because there have been some difficulties with staying current with the legislature, the work of the legislature when there's only been monthly meetings. So that's something to look into. For example, with any steering committee, not only do you need to make the monthly meeting work, but you might want to have some tentative holds on your calendar for when the co-chairs need to convene a special meeting every other week. And during the heat of the session, things could advance for an every week. And I imagine those special meetings would be held completely virtually versus in person. But that's something to look on the scheduling. I know that HHS has a lot on its plate, so I thank you, Commissioner Fye, for working with your policy assistant to get that together. And Commissioner Willie, I assume that you have reviewed the NACO package from AOC, where we had adopted the AOC positions on the NACO platforms. Whew. Any other thoughts? I will say that Melissa, oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Treese, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I'm not listed on any of these committees. I do serve on the District 8 piece, but the committee that would be the most interesting to me would be the Governance and Revenue Steering Committee. But Jerry may have said dibs. I'm not sure.
Well, guess what? It isn't limited to one. All
Well,
commissioners
I'm
are
just teasing
welcome.
him. I saw him shake his head really fast.
Well, no, I'm both of those steering committees look interesting to me, and so maybe let's talk about that. I know that you're still District 8 Vice Chair.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much time involvement that takes from you, and so I'm just trying to. I have not been involved in AOC up to now, and so I'm willing to kind of stick my toe in but not jump in. So yeah, if you're interested in that, let's talk.
So what being vice chair does is it puts me in an alternate role for board and legislative committees. So I do attend those as well, but I don't, I'm not in the first position in those meetings. Let's just put it that
but
way.
You're
I'm
Pam's you're Catherine's backup for the board meetings. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, I am Sonia Fisher backup. And then when I moved to chair, then I'll be the person. So, I guess I'm really pretty comfortable with my role at AOC right now. But if we need that representation, that would be the one that I would choose. So that's just but if you're willing to do it, that's great.
Okay, we'll talk.
So a couple things to the point that Commissioner Treese was illustrating. It's why I included the 2022 AOC Legislative Committee roster into the packet. So if you look at the district delegates, there's a District 8 delegate that let's see. And then over in the district chairs, you see District 8 Commissioner Sonia Fisher, and that Commissioner Treese as the vice chair for District 8 is the alternate. Okay.
And this coming year, I will be in the first seat on the legislative committee, and also I believe as on the board as well.
Yes. So the board is made up of the officers, past presidents, district chairs, NACO reps, counties with a population over, members at large, and for the Ledge Committee, I think the steering committee officers as listed here. So it's a pretty large board. Any commissioner is welcome at any time. You can pop in and pop out to participate in a steering committee. But in doing so, you have to make sure the burden is on you as an individual to review the packet and to be thoughtful. They've really clamped down on commissioners just coming in one meeting and sort of derailing things. And we spent a bunch of time at the legislative committee retreat talking about the standard operating procedures and how to improve both the steering committee work and the legislative committee work, and hence the slate that will come from the Ledge Committee meetings to the board. So it is a good group. And I really want to give credit to Melissa Lindsay, who has been serving as the treasurer. She's done a really awesome job as the treasurer and making sure that she's been running the budget and audit committee work, and the budget and finance committee, and then the audit committee. for the County Solutions Advisory Committee, I'm going back to the summary page in the packet. We have the metro area regional solutions. So that's why we don't have the absolute presence there. And for membership, they have various commissioners serving there, one from each district. Commissioner Treese handled that in 2019 at least, maybe 2020 as well. Commissioner Jayapal has been serving. I've attended a couple of those meetings and go from there. So, but that's an example of yet again another committee where any commissioner can participate and provide input. So, whew. But thanks to our awesome government relations team, we continue to have, in addition to what I bring forward from my participation and Commissioner Fye, and well as Commissioner Treese in our various roles, we have really great information as it relates to the Washington County legislative agendas for the state and the federal level. So that's it for me. What's on the horizon is that knowing that the procedures will be tightened up. You'll see more at the annual meeting in November, formalizing that. Then be at the ready for more special meetings and switching from solely virtual to hybrid, and hopefully someday that hybrid being in Salem versus traveling around the state as we have done in a limited fashion the last 2 years. Go ahead, Commissioner Treese.
I just also wanted to add that in September, we're going to be going over these bylaws as well at the district meeting. So that's kind of the prelude to what will happen in November.
Yep, we don't want to miss that meeting. I think it's on the rolling agenda for Monday, September 26th. Do you remember locationally where that will be held, at which of the 3 counties?
Well, it's usually held in the chair of the district's county, right? So it's my guess is it's going to be in Clackamas County.
Cool. Wonderful. Go ahead, Commissioner Willie.
Well, this is not on our agenda today, but I wanted to remind everybody that Rob Drake's retirement party is, I think, the first week of August 4th. Does that sound right? But anyway, I am not going to be there. I have asked Megan to put together a letter to Rob showing our appreciation for his service in the public sector for all those years, blah, blah, blah. And would like to run that by you and ask that it come from the commission. So I guess I'm ready to do that, but I wanted to see if everybody was okay with taking it that direction, or if you had other ideas. What are your thoughts?
Well, usually we have the draft letters come to us process-wise in a work session packet or sent to us in advance and then included.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do. I just wanted to kind of alert you and see. I didn't want to get ahead of somebody else if they had some other idea that they wanted to do on this, but I just wanted to get that taken care of.
Jerry, I'd comment. It's nice. When Lou Ogden left, I went with a letter on behalf of the board just to thank him. And same thing with John Cook and Tigard. And I mean, all we're saying is thank you for your service. I'm going to try to make that particular event. So happy to.
Yeah, I am not available. So I would appreciate, if someone would make sure they get that on their calendar and show our appreciation to Rob. Okay. So I
used to,
will have, go ahead.
I'm
sorry.
used to the board signing on to letters or certificates for our peer elected officials. It feels a little unusual to me for us to be submitting a letter for a city manager. It's not the first time in my 3 years where there's been a change in city managers. So that is just something that I will note seems different. That's all.
Well, and I think because Rob has a blend for all the years he was mayor of Beaverton and wasn't elected. And so, yeah, I just wanted to recognize for his years of service, both as elected and as city manager of Cornelius. So I will be submitting that to the work session packet and working with Megan on that. Okay.
So commissioners, we're at the end of today's roundtable. Is there anything else you'd like to bring forward or discuss today? Phew, terrific. We've done it, gone over a lot of ground. Consider ourselves very well organized. Thank you very much for all the discussion that we had today. Thank you again, Ms. Angie, for the speakers that you lined up earlier for us today. And I know I look forward to our continued discussions for evolving towards a more sustainable, resilient, one Washington County moving forward. Terrific. Well, that's it, everybody. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.